Poor men ask how to get rich fast. Rich men ask which game they are playing. That is the difference. One man chases escape, the other studies leverage. And if you choose the wrong wealth game for your current level, the market will not comfort you. It will expose you. Because wealth is not one game. It is a hierarchy. At the bottom, men sell time. Above them, men sell skill. Above them, men own assets. Above them, men control capital. And at the highest level, the most powerful men do not merely make money. They decide where money goes. So the question is not whether you want wealth. Every desperate man wants wealth. Every exhausted man wants escape. Every unsupported man wants one door to finally open. But the market does not care that you are tired. The market does not care that your family doubted you. The market does not care that your friends laughed while you were trying to build something. It only asks one question: what do you control? Do you control a skill strong enough to produce cash? Do you control cash flow? Do you control customers? Do you control attention? Do you control a business? Do you control assets? Do you control trust? Do you control other people's money? Your answer determines the game you are qualified to play. Most men are not poor because they lack ambition. They are poor because they are trying to play the wrong game. They want to invest before they can earn. They want passive income before they have active competence. They want investor money before they have proof. They want scale before they have control. They want freedom before they have leverage. And this is where reality becomes cruel. Not emotionally cruel, structurally cruel. The market does not ask what you desire. It asks what you can command. If you do not know your current game, you will mistake movement for progress. You will mistake risk for courage. You will mistake desperation for strategy. You will mistake watching finance content for becoming financially intelligent. And you will keep asking how to get rich when the real question is colder. Which level of leverage am I actually qualified to command? Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "Fortune is the arbiter of one half of our actions, but she still leaves us to direct the other half." This is not optimism. This is responsibility. Machiavelli was not saying, luck does not exist. He was saying, fortune exists, timing exists, disorder exists, opportunity exists. Opportunity exists, but the serious man does not worship what he cannot control. He prepares the half he can control. Your discipline, your skill, your proof, your cash flow, your ability to sell, your ability to sell, your ability to allocate, your ability to survive pressure without needing applause. Most men do the opposite. They obsess over the part they cannot control because they have neglected the part they can. They say nobody supported me, but they built no proof. They say nobody gave me a chance, but they built no visible value. They say I need money to make money, but they have no skill strong enough to attract money. They say I want investors, but they do not understand that investors are not parents. They are political actors. They do not enter your business to love you. They enter to protect and multiply their own interest. That is not evil. That is reality. And Machiavelli's entire philosophy begins with one brutal demand. Stop asking reality to become moral before you become strategic. The lie is simple. Work harder and you will become rich. It sounds noble, it sounds masculine, it sounds fair. That is why it is dangerous. A lie becomes stronger when it flatters your pride. Why do so many hard-working men stay poor? Not lazy men, not weak men. Men who wake up early, men who endure pressure, men who do what they are told, men who sacrifice, men who swallow disrespect and keep moving. Why do they remain trapped? Because effort is not power unless it controls something. Effort without leverage creates exhaustion. Effort with leverage creates expansion. That is the difference. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "A prince ought to have no other aim or thought than war and its rules and discipline, for this is the sole art that belongs to him who rules. He was speaking about rulers and military power, not modern business. But the principle transfers with precision. A man must study the actual battlefield he is in. The employee who only studies effort loses to the man who studies incentives. The skilled man who hides his value loses to the average man who understands positioning. The creator who only makes content loses to the strategist who understands attention. The founder who only loves the product loses to the operator who understands cash flow, customer acquisition, and control. Effort matters, but effort is not command. Effort is infantry. Leverage is command. Look at the unsupported man. He has no rich uncle, no family capital, no warm introduction, no one opening doors. So he tells himself the only honorable path is to grind. But grinding without strategy is not discipline, it is obedience. And obedience is useful to the person who owns the system. This is why poor men often glorify exhaustion. They confuse being tired with being effective. They confuse sacrifice with progress. They confuse pain with proof. But the market does not pay for your pain. It pays for value captured through leverage. The cold truth is this: hard work is only powerful when attached to a machine that multiplies it. A skill, a product, a reputation, a sales channel, a business model, an asset, a capital structure. Without leverage, work dies inside the hour that produced it. With leverage, work continues moving after your hands leave it. That is why the poor man is always tired. He owns no mechanism. He can only keep pushing. The rich man does not merely push harder. He builds a structure where each push travels farther. So stop asking whether you are working hard enough. That is not the highest question. Ask what your work controls. Does it control income? Does it control attention? Does it control a customer relationship? Does it control a product? Does it control distribution? Does it control an asset? Does it control capital? Because if your work controls nothing, your effort becomes charity to someone else's kingdom. And this leads to the first wealth game, the first battlefield of the unsupported man. No rescue, no investor, no applause, just skill, cash, reinvestment, and proof. Bootstrapping is the wealth game of the unsupported man. It is not glamorous. It is not fast. It does not make you look important at the beginning. That is why it is honest. Bootstrapping forces a man to confront the market without hiding behind fantasy. No investor money, no borrowed credibility, no large team, no inflated valuation. Just one brutal exchange. Can you turn skill into cash? And can you turn cash into proof? Machiavelli warns constantly against dependence. In The Prince, his argument about arms and defense is simple. What depends on yourself is more reliable than what depends on others. He repeatedly attacks dependence on foreign and mercenary forces because borrowed strength obeys another master. The business translation is exact. If your survival depends entirely on being chosen, you are not building power. You are waiting under another man's permission. The unsupported man cannot begin there. He must first build something he can command. His skill, his offer, his customer relationship, his discipline, his cash control, his visible proof. Bootstrapping is ugly because it removes excuses. You cannot hide behind the investor who did not understand you. You cannot hide behind the market that was not ready. You cannot hide behind the team you do not have. At the beginning, the market asks one thing. Can you create value with what is already in your hands? Michael Dell understood this early. In 1984, as a freshman at the University of Texas, Michael Dell founded PCs Limited with $1,000 and a new vision for how computers could be designed, manufactured, and sold. Dell's own company Timeline records that he left school after his first year to devote himself fully to growing the business. That is not a story about luck. It is a story about mechanism. Dell saw an inefficiency. The old computer distribution model had middlemen, delays, and costs. He moved closer to the customer. Direct sales. Custom configuration. Faster feedback. Cash moving through a system he could understand and improve. He did not begin by asking the world to believe in him. He built a commercial mechanism that produced evidence. This is the first lesson of bootstrapping. The unsupported man does not begin by asking, "Who will fund me?" He begins by asking, "What inefficiency can I exploit? What skill can I sell? What customer can I serve? What proof can I produce before anyone believes in me?" Dell did not start by appearing powerful. He started by controlling a small machine. That is where most poor men lose. They want the image of success before the mechanism of success. They want the office, the logo, the announcement, the applause, the investor meeting, the public identity. But appearance without force is debt. The hidden law of bootstrapping is this: control begins before scale. Michael Dell did not begin with global dominance. He began with a direct model, a smaller system, a clearer path between demand and delivery. And once the system worked, scale became possible. Poor men think scale creates power. It does not. Powerful small systems earn the right to scale. A man with no support must not chase bigness first. He must chase control first. Control of skill, control of offer, control of customer, control of cash, control of reinvestment, control of proof. Because once proof exists, the world changes its tone. People who ignored you start calling it vision. People who doubted you start calling it timing. People who dismissed you start pretending they always saw the potential. But they did not see potential. They saw proof. And proof is the only language the market respects. If you are unsupported, stop despising the small beginning. The small beginning is where you learn command. The small beginning exposes your weakness before the world punishes it at scale. The small beginning teaches whether your ambition is real or merely emotional. You are not too good to start small. You are too unproven to start large. That is not an insult. That is the map. And if you are the kind of man who is done pretending that watching more content is the same as building power, stop chasing false progress. You already know comfort will not save you, but your real problem is that your standards rise faster than your structure. If you keep consuming without building proof, you will become the man who understands everything and commands nothing. Inside Patreon, you get deeper, unfiltered breakdowns on power, leverage, discipline, and strategy, so you can turn harsh truth into operating principles. This is not for men who want comfort. It is for men who want command. The decision is yours. Bootstrapping gives control. But control has a cost. It is slow. At some point, some men want speed. More people, more inventory, more software, more distribution, more market capture. They want to move faster than their current cash flow allows, so they enter the second game. Raising capital, other people's money, your business. And this is where many founders mistake acceleration for freedom. Raising capital is speed with a price. Poor men hear funding and think rescue. Strategic men hear funding and ask a colder question. Who now has a claim on the throne? Because when you take other people's money, the room changes. You may still be the founder. You may still be the visionary. You may still be the public face. But politically, your kingdom is no longer pure. Other interests have entered the machine. Investors want growth. Boards want control. Shareholders want outcomes. employees want security. The press wants a story, and if performance weakens, your title may not protect you. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "He who is the cause of another becoming powerful is ruined." This line is not about kindness, it is about structure. When you give power to another force, you must ask what that force will want later. In business, capital is not neutral. Capital has memory. Capital has expectations. Capital has terms. Capital has rights. Capital has patience until it does not. Raising money can help you move faster. It can buy talent. It can buy distribution. It can buy infrastructure. It can buy time in the market before your competitors catch up. Used correctly, capital is a weapon. But naive men do not treat it as a weapon. They treat it as validation. That is the trap. A man who raises capital because he needs proof is already weak. A man who raises capital after he has proof is negotiating from a different position. One is begging to be chosen. The other is deciding what speed is worth. This is why founder control matters. Steve Jobs is one of the most famous warnings in modern business history. Talent did not protect him from politics. Vision did not protect him from governance. Being the face of the company did not mean he was untouchable. When the internal power structure shifted, he was pushed out of the company he helped build. That is the lesson. You can create the throne and still lose the kingdom if you do not understand power. WeWork is an even more brutal modern warning. Adam Neumann built a company that captured attention, capital, and cultural imagination. WeWork was not sold merely as office space. It was sold as a movement, community, flexibility, modern work, a new way to live around business. Capital loved the story. At its peak, WeWork was reportedly valued around $47 billion before its failed public offering process exposed severe concerns around governance, losses, and leadership. Then the market looked under the narrative. The public offering documents triggered scrutiny. Investors questioned the structure. Critics pointed to governance red flags. The public offering was withdrawn. Neumann stepped down as chief executive officer in September of 2019, and reporting at the time noted that his voting power was reduced. That is the Machiavellian lesson. Narrative can raise capital, but structure decides whether power survives inspection. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few really know what you are. This is not permission to become fake, it is a warning. Appearance is powerful until reality demands payment." WeWork had appearance, vision, momentum, investor hunger, media fascination. But when the market demanded proof strong enough to support the scale of the story, the throne became unstable. Capital did not behave like emotional support. Capital behaved like capital. It protected itself. It renegotiated power. It changed the ruler. That is what naive founders do not understand. Other people's money does not enter your business as belief. It enters as interest. And interest is loyal only while the structure serves it. So raising capital is not evil. It is not weakness. It is not corruption by itself. But it is never innocent. You trade ownership for speed. You trade independence for acceleration. You trade simplicity for governance. You trade solitude for politics. If you accept that trade consciously, capital can become a weapon. If you accept it naively, capital becomes a leash. If you want to raise capital, stop thinking like a man begging to be chosen. Think like a ruler negotiating terms. Know your ownership. Know your voting rights. Know your voting rights. Know your board structure. Know your milestones. Know what happens if growth slows. Know who can remove you. Know whose money you are taking. Know what that money demands. Because money from others is never just money. It is influence. It is expectation. It is pressure. It is a claim. And if you do not understand the claim, you may build the throne and still lose the kingdom. But there is another game, a quieter game, a game many broke men talk about too early. Investing your money, other people's businesses, the dream of passive income, the fantasy of wealth without confrontation, the seductive promise that money can work while the man avoids becoming useful. But Machiavelli would ask one cold question. What money are you investing if you have not first built income? Investing is not usually the first move for broke men. It is the multiplier of money after money exists. If you have no active income, investing will not save you. It will reveal your impatience. Poor men love investing content because it promises wealth without forcing competence. No selling, no rejection, no customers, no offer, no negotiation, no public proof. Just charts, apps, opinions, and the illusion of intelligence. But investing with weak income is often not strategy. It is disguised escape. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand." Men are ruled by appearances before they understand reality. Modern poor men fall into this constantly. They see the investor image, the screenshots, the charts, the portfolio language, the luxury signals, the calm tone of men who already have capital. And they want to look like capital allocators before they have become capital creators. But a 10% return on nothing is still nothing. A man with almost no surplus seeking passive income is often avoiding the harder truth. His earning power is too low. His skill stack is too weak. His active engine is not built. This is where modern finance seduces the unsupported man. He feels ignored. He wants a path that does not require approval. Investing looks perfect. No one has to hire him. No one has to believe in him. No one has to promote him. But the market is not a father. It will not reward his resentment. It will not multiply fantasy. Investing is powerful when there is something to multiply. Your money into other people's businesses means you are trusting external operators, market conditions, governance structures, and time. That can be intelligent from strength. But from desperation, it becomes gambling behavior dressed as sophistication. The broke man is not attracted to investing because he understands capital. He is attracted to it because investing lets him fantasize about wealth without facing customers, rejection, sales, and proof. That is why investing content becomes emotional anesthesia for men who have not built earning power. The cold truth is this: investing is storage and compounding of power. It is not the foundation for most unsupported men. First, build earning power. Then build surplus. Then protect the surplus. Then allocate the surplus. Then let assets work while your active engine continues producing. The poor man wants investing to replace competence. The rich man uses investing to preserve and multiply the results of competence. Income first. Surplus second. Allocation third. Compounding fourth. Freedom later. Not because freedom is impossible, because freedom without structure collapses. If you are still broke, your first investment may not be a stock, it may be a skill. Sales, writing, coding, design, content production, negotiation, business operations, a portfolio, a customer acquisition system, a public body of proof. The unsupported man must be ruthless here. You do not get to skip active value creation because passive income sounds cleaner. Before your money can work for you, you must become the kind of man who can make money move at all. And above investing is a higher game. A game most men never reach because it requires more than ambition. It requires trust at scale. Fund management. Other people's money. Other people's businesses. This is the level where a man is no longer merely building or investing. He is directing capital. The highest wealth game is not working. It is not even owning. It is deciding where capital goes. The poor sell time. The skilled sell value. The rich own assets. The powerful direct capital. Why is this higher leverage? Because the fund manager does not need to personally build every business. He does not need to personally operate every asset. He controls allocation. He decides which operators receive fuel. He sits above the battlefield, studying where force should be concentrated. That is not passive, that is command. Machiavelli understood that power is not courage alone. Power requires organization, discipline, reward, punishment, structure, preparation. In capital, this becomes simple. Money does not move merely toward good intentions. Money moves toward credible structures. Track record, governance, risk control, access, reputation, judgment. Risk control, access, reputation, judgment. A fund manager deals with other people's money and other people's businesses. That means he must control trust, risk, perception, and results. One mistake does not merely cost money, it damages confidence. And confidence is the oxygen of capital. Poor men think rich men are powerful because they have money. That is incomplete. Powerful men are powerful because other people trust them with money. Trust at scale becomes leverage. This is why reputation becomes capital. This is why track record becomes capital. This is why judgment becomes capital. This is why access becomes capital. The fund manager is not only an investor, he is operating a political machine of confidence. Investors must believe he can allocate. Founders must believe he can help. Markets must believe he can survive cycles. Partners must believe he can protect the institution. And everyone is watching the results. Machiavelli wrote, "In the actions of all men, one judges by the result." This is brutal, but it is true. In capital allocation, intention is irrelevant when results fail. You can have the best thesis, the purest motive, the most intelligent analysis. But if the capital is destroyed, the world judges the outcome. This is not unfair. This is the nature of power. Power is measured by consequences. Fund management is the highest game because it separates ownership from command. The bootstrapped man commands his own small machine. The funded founder commands a larger machine partly financed by others. The investor owns pieces of other machines. The fund manager controls the flow of fuel between machines. That is leverage. But it comes with the highest burden. You must be trusted before the result exists. And that trust must be continually defended by performance, perception, discipline, and restraint. This is why most men cannot start here. You cannot manage other people's money if you have never managed your own. You cannot allocate capital if you have never produced capital. You cannot direct force if you have never survived pressure. You cannot sit above the game if you never mastered the lower levels. Do not envy the fund manager. Study the ladder. He is playing a game built on accumulated credibility. If you want that level, stop fantasizing about skipping steps. Build proof, build judgment, build reputation, build capital, build access. Build a record that makes trust rational. The unsupported man does not rise by being chosen. He rises by becoming too proven to ignore. If you are the kind of man who knows the public video is only the surface, stop mistaking free insight for full transformation. You already know the game is deeper than motivation, but your problem is not information. Your problem is unfiltered strategy, repeated until it becomes instinct. If you keep chasing comfortable lessons, you will stay emotionally inspired and structurally weak. Inside Patreon, you get exclusive, unfiltered breakdowns on leverage, power, money, discipline, and human nature, so you can think colder, act cleaner, and build proof without waiting for permission. This is not for tourists. It is for men who want the deeper room. The decision is yours. Now the hierarchy is visible. But visibility creates a more dangerous question. Where are you actually standing? Not where you wish you were. Not where your ego claims you are. Not where your favorite content makes you feel you belong. Where are you qualified to play right now? The wrong wealth game can destroy you faster than poverty, because poverty limits you. But the wrong game convinces you that you are progressing while you are bleeding. So how do you know your current game? Look at what you control, not what you want, not what you watch, not what you talk about, what you control. If you control only your time, you are in the labor game. If you control a valuable skill, you are entering the cash flow game. If you control a business, you are in the ownership game. If you control investor money, you are in the governance game. If you control assets, you are in the compounding game. If you control other people's capital allocation, you are in the institutional power game. Most men are not poor because they lack ambition. They are poor because they misread their level. They consume fund management content while having no discipline. They study investing before learning how to earn. They chase funding before proving demand. They dream of scale before creating one offer that sells. They want the rewards of power without the architecture of power. Machiavelli understood that men are often ruined by misjudging their position. In The Prince, he warns that rulers who rely entirely on fortune are destroyed when fortune changes because they failed to prepare while conditions were calm. This is one of the coldest business lessons you can learn. Do not blame the storm if you refuse to build the walls. Do not blame the market if you refuse to build skill. Do not blame investors if you refuse to build proof. Do not blame algorithms if you refuse to study attention. Do not blame capitalism if you refuse to understand leverage. This is not comfort, this is clarity, and clarity is the beginning of control. Here is the hierarchy. Bootstrapping. Your money. Your business. Best for unsupported men who need proof, control, skill, and cash flow. Raising capital. Other people's money. Your business. Best for founders with proof who need speed and understand governance. Investing. Your money. Other people's businesses. Best for men with surplus income who want compounding and asset exposure. Fund management. Other people's money. Other people's businesses. Best for men with track record, trust, judgment, access, and institutional credibility. This is not a moral hierarchy, it is a leverage hierarchy. Each level gives more reach. Each level demands more discipline. Each level punishes ignorance harder. So stop asking how to get rich fast. That question exposes you. Ask what you currently control. Ask what proof you have. Ask what skill produces cash. Ask what cash you can reinvest. Ask what reputation you can build. Ask what leverage you can earn. Ask what game you are qualified to play now. Ask what game you must prepare for next. That is how a man stops being a dreamer and becomes a strategist. But one final Machiavellian law remains beneath all four games: the law of appearance and proof. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few really know what you are." This is not permission to become fake. It is a warning that hidden value is often treated as non-existent value. If your skill cannot be seen, it cannot create leverage. If your proof cannot be verified, it cannot create trust. If your business cannot show demand, it cannot attract capital. If your judgment has no track record, it cannot command other people's money. Appearance is not the opposite of reality. In power, Appearance is the doorway through which reality is allowed to enter. This is why reputation matters. This is why narrative matters. This is why results matter. This is why quiet competence alone is not enough. The world does not reward the man who secretly deserves more. It rewards the man who turns competence into visible proof. Machiavelli also wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, when either must be dispensed with." This is one of the most abused lines in political thought. It does not mean you should become cruel. It does not mean you should mistreat people. It means affection is unstable when interests change. Fear, in Machiavelli's political context, means reliable consequence. In wealth, the translation is this: do not build a life that depends on being liked. Build a life where ignoring your value has consequences, not violent consequences, market consequences, status consequences, opportunity consequences. They miss the deal. They lose the talent. They fail to hire you. They fail to invest early. They underestimate the wrong man. That is how proof creates respect. Not by begging, by making disbelief expensive. You do not control the whole board. But you are responsible for the part you can command. Your discipline, your skill, your proof, your cash flow, your reputation, your leverage, your choice of game. Most men fail because they want wealth without first understanding power. They want money without understanding value. They want freedom without understanding control. They want status without understanding proof. They want investors without understanding governance. They want compounding without first creating surplus. They want the rewards of higher games while still being unqualified for them. That ends when a man stops lying to himself. If you are unsupported, your path is not closed. It is simply less forgiving. You do not get to rely on applause. You do not get to wait for belief. You do not get to outsource proof. You must build the first machine yourself. Skill into cash. Cash into reinvestment. Reinvestment into proof. Proof into leverage. Leverage into assets. Assets into freedom. Freedom into power. And if you survive long enough, your isolation stops being a wound. It becomes an origin no one can claim ownership over. If you are done chasing shortcuts and ready to build leverage, subscribe to Depths of Psyche. Not for comfort, not for motivation, for Machiavellian realism applied to money, power, discipline, status, and survival. Study the game. Choose your level. Build proof. Then move higher. No support. No network. No excuses. Build anyway.